So thanks very much. And yeah, happy to answer questions. I'm sure Dolly is too.
Thank you so much, Preston. That was fantastic. Yeah,
Did I do good, Dolly?
Yes, yes, you did. You did wonderfully.
I have one silly question, and then I'm going to open the questions to everybody. When they healed you, this last thing that we were talking about here, when I guess you had fallen and they came to heal you, I wanted to know if they used their hands. Did they use the chakras in their hands, or did they use a wand, mind? How did they do it, Dolly?
My hybrid son is actually a healer, and he uses hands.
Hands. Okay.
Yes, yes. I had broken my left elbow, and I had black and blue all on my face. I had abrasions everywhere down my body, and he took my elbow from being newly broken that night before, and shocked me, because when I went to the orthopedic guy a couple of days later for my appointment for a cast, they said I don't need a cast, and they just kept it wrapped in a splint, and they said it had already mostly gelled up and was mostly healing, and I was shocked. So yeah, he was able to do that. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, well, I see Dominic's hand up. So anybody who wants to ask a question, please put your hands up, and I'll do it in an orderly fashion. So Dominic, you're first.
Yes, hi. Thank you for just an outstanding, wonderful presentation, and for sharing your experience with us, Dolly. Just amazing. I have a question. Did the Greys ever explain to you why the military, our military, is so hell-bent on blocking ET contact and chasing after experiencers and denying their presence? Did the Greys ever explain why that's happening to you?
Yes. The alt government of this planet, and it's huge. I mean, it's almost every country on this planet has an alt government, are in knowledge of events that are happening to us physically now by our sun and our solar system. And they really don't want us in the know, because they don't plan on everybody being able to survive. We're headed for some really cataclysmic events, and they've mostly built underground shelters for themselves, and they plan on surviving, and we are mostly expendable to them. And no, they do not want you to know what's going on as a result of that. That's why, literally.
Wow.
Yeah, that's one of the things I did forget to mention, is the ETs did warn Dolly that we are coming towards some real environmental problems, possible micro nova, which will basically shut down our entire electrical system across our planet, which is something I have heard from other contactees.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was wondering if at some point, Dolly, you wouldn't mind talking about some of these predictions. People are always asking about predictions, and all of us are trying to put things together. Would you talk a little bit about that for us, please?
Sure. Our solar system is in a 12,000 year cycle right now. We're coming at the end of it. And there are two cycles, actually, a 6,000 year Noah event, as well as a 12,000 year micronova event. And it is known knowledge. It's been known since the 1930s that this was coming. I would like to give you all a couple of resources to help educate you with this.
Thank you.
Okay, because it's going to be almost impossible for me to completely explain it out. There is a website, he's called Suspicious Observers on YouTube. He is a PhD astrophysicist, and he is telling the truth. He has not been blocked by the government yet, so I suggest you find him as quickly as possible. Observers, SUSPCIOUS observers, and watch his videos. It explains comprehensively what's happening to our solar system right now. Our poles are changing. They're an excursion. It started about 80 years ago, and it is now at maximum situation. We're starting, our magnetosphere is way down. Have incoming gamma radiation on us. It's causing physical anomalies amongst our entire planet, which is mental illness, heart problems, autoimmune disorders, cancers, all kinds of things that you are unaware of happening to the human genome. So yes, look it up and learn as much as you can about it. ET's message, and the reason that I came out, is that no one deserves to be unaware of what's happening. And ET wants us all to wake up now. They want you to hear the truth. They want you to get off the slave train that you're on and start to wake up and understand what's actually happening. ET wants to help us. They're going to help us. They have a plan, but they can't do it by themselves. They need us to cooperate. And that means you need to learn to meditate, detox your bodies. You need to learn how to use your innate psychic abilities and stop believing the BS that's being told to you on this planet. Prepare. There's a lot going to happen and you need to know about it. So please check this website out. There's also another astrophysicist by the name of Robitaille, Dr. Robitaille, Robiti, and he's also on YouTube. Watch him. He explains scientifically about the universe and its innate properties and things that you could have been learning already. Important. Understanding and cooperation amongst ourselves, we are the ones who are going to be disclosure. ET is not going to use the governments to disclose. They're using us. They're already trying to talk to you. They are already sending messages to everybody, and they need you to be able to hear them. So that's the message. Wake up. It's time.
By the way, I put the Suspicious Observers website in chat for those who want to go to it. You can see it in the chat.
Right. There are other forums and things like that that I could give you to help you learn to use your abilities. One of them is you should read Preston's books on how to meditate, how to OBE, remote view, that type of thing. He can help you use your mind and wake up. He's an expert. He has very, very comprehensive teaching material out there for you. Also, there's a couple of fun websites that you can go to. One of them is a ESP trainer, and you can download it onto your computer and it teaches you how to begin to use your ESP. And it's just a fun way to guide and help march you through whether you're doing it or not. There's lots of other resources, but those are the basic ones that I would suggest that you all begin with. Y'all need to talk amongst yourselves more, and you need to explain and help one another understand that this is not something that we should just leave alone and talk about once a week. This should become a daily part of your lives from now on. And look up, start contacting ET mentally yourselves. They will talk to you. Keep trying. It'll happen.
Yeah, Dolly's had experiences with a wide variety of ETs as well. It's not just grays, but human looking,
Right.
short blue beings, light beings, cat-like beings, dog-like beings, bird-like beings, the Anunnaki, as we would think of them. So yeah, there are a lot of people out there. We are absolutely not alone. There is life throughout the universe, and we all have that same humanoid form, which again speaks back to the symmetry of life throughout the universe.
Yes. They are us, we are them, we are all one. And they are part of the human genome. They have DNA like we do. They just express out differently. They look a little different from, just like we do amongst ourselves, but we are all human and part of the larger human genome. So.
Well, thank you for telling us that, Dolly. I feel the same way. I feel that right now everybody's coming out of the alien closet. We're all beginning to talk to each other. We're all finding each other and having groups like this one. A friend of mine met a group from Seattle, so now he's very connected with the group in Seattle, and we're going to be working together, and it's building. And I have a lot of hope for the time that we're in living right now. And there was a time when I had lost hope. So, you know, thanks to people like you and Preston coming out with these wonderful books, it's giving us the hope that we need to keep going towards the light, enlightenment, let's say.
Yes.
Knowledge.
Absolutely. Knowing. Absolutely.
And we have a hand up by Brian.
Yes, thanks for hosting, Mimi. It's great to meet you, Dolly, and to meet you, Preston, again. I agree with everything you've been saying. Yeah, I have a question. I've been at this a long time, but really influenced the last 2 years by Jeff Silver here in Vancouver. Just recently published his book, The Rising, and Susie Hansen's been a big influence. So I guess they're saying a similar message. What I've learned from them, just wondering if the Greys have taught you a similar thing, that there could be some kind of cataclysm in the years to come, but the end result would be, it'll be a more beautiful world, and there'll be like hybrids of human, Homo sapiens sapiens, with gray aliens. I don't know when, maybe hundreds of years from now, with sort of telepathic qualities, more spiritual focus on the life, using technology for the spiritual development. Jeff calls it quantum dimensional consciousness. And like on the cover of this book, Jeff describes like there'll be a city on Earth, and he said, if you want to get enlightened, you go there. If you don't want enlightened, you don't go there. So this is kind of the future vision he's been given for the future of the Earth, like something that could be like a calling of the population, but then will be more spiritual form of humanity afterwards. That's sort of the picture I'm putting together. Just wondering what the Greys have told you, or what your view, and maybe Dana could answer that as well.
What we're facing is, as our magnetic poles have been excursioning and our magnetosphere is down, gamma radiation is coming in on this planet wide open, and our sun is now in solar maximum. It is having massive coronal mass ejections, and they're getting more and more and more intense. And with the poles down and the magnetosphere down, what's going to happen within the next couple of years is that there will be an X-class coronal mass ejection that will send our planet straight into the Stone Age. It will destroy every electrical component in the sky and on the ground 10 miles deep. That is a huge issue for this planet. Once that happens, ET will wait for the dust to clear, and then they will show up in mass, and they will be conducting a rescue at that point. They will massively land on this planet, on every corner of the planet you can imagine, and start pulling human beings out of here. Because the next bad thing that's about to happen is our sun is going to micronova, and nothing on this planet will survive that, nothing. And they're going to get us out of here. This is an occurrence that happens every 12,000 years. They have rescued humanity more than once, 8 times that I am aware of, and this is going to happen. You will be taken to other worlds where you will be given an existence to live, and you will become more educated. You will have better chances to finish out your lives and your karma elsewhere. This planet is going to be out of service for about 80,000 years after that. And it will go into a massive ice age, and nothing will survive, nothing. So that is what's going to happen. The enlightenment that your friends are talking about are that we will be living on Earth-like planets, and that you will have unbelievable spiritual opportunities to excel and do way more than you're doing here now. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I will say that contactees do express variations of this, and some match up perfectly with what Dolly is saying. Others have slightly varying accounts. One thing I do hear from the vast majority of contactees is sometimes a dream that they have or a vision of the entire sky filling up with UFOs landing en masse. This is exactly what Dolly is talking about. So I feel however this rolls out, it's good news for us. It's not doom and gloom.
Right.
It's going to lift us away from the poverty and the greed and the corruption, and the divisiveness that we've been struggling with for hundreds of years. And we are going to move into a stage of progress and spirituality and cooperation, and telepathy and love and compassion. So yeah, it could be rocky for a while, and it's life on Earth is difficult, but ultimately this is very, very, very good news for humanity and absolutely real. I have cases of people who have been lifted to other planets and not returned. So this may sound like science fiction to skeptics, but I can tell you this is the direction we're heading towards. I think this is what the evidence is really showing us.
Okay. Maybe I could add to that. Like Jeff was saying that the Greys have told him, spiritually humanity has kind of fallen. They've had, centuries of opportunities. It's time for an upgrade. So I guess that's kind of saying the same thing. And I think,
Yes.
there was this mass soul ejection, like something like 12,800 years ago, or some cataclysm. So, so I agree. It seems to be a cyclic thing. I did an interview with Brian Forster, said it might even be something from the center of the galaxy that blows out, or the sun. We're not sure.
We have a giant magnetic current sheet coming at us from the center of our galaxy right now.
Yeah.
And it is impacting our solar system. It isn't just Earth that's going through this, it's our entire solar system is changing right now. Every single planet in our solar system is going through this change as well. And it is a massive event that is occurring. So yes. I'll give you a hint, you can look this up. NASA is going to bring the ISS down within 2 years. They're going to control its descent and land it in a very deep part of the ocean to protect all the land masses from it. They wouldn't do that unless they were expecting every satellite to come down out of the sky from a coronal mass ejection. Look this up. It's a giant clue to you that this is occurring for real, okay? They have a massive neural net of satellites out there right now that are watching the sun and know exactly what's going on. So just check out Suspicious Observers, start educating yourself, do some science learning, and you will be convinced. I promise you, you'll understand.
So this is just a quick question. Dolly, my story has to do with Mars and how Mars ended.
Yes.
I was wondering, and they warned me that Earth was going the same way. So I'm just wondering now with this science, and I'm very, very interested in the science of what happened there. I was told that when Mars went through their situation, that the children from Mars were brought to Earth,
Yes.
evacuated.
Yes. It's a process. 280 million years ago, a huge rogue planet came into our solar system and slammed into Mars, Earth, and another planet that it completely destroyed. Earth was in a part of the zone where it was habitable, and it was habitated by lizards, dinosaurs, that kind of thing. There was less gravity on the planet then. Mars was in the catbird seat where we are now. Mars took an unbelievably devastating hit. They knew it was coming, and they got everybody off the planet before it hit, and they were taken to safety. Once the universe, our solar system, calmed back down and they could assess where everybody was going to end up going, they were brought to Earth after that. That was one of the first turns, 265 million years ago, actually. And Earth has always been a little bit of a problem, though, because when Earth got hit, it it bulged out the center of our planet. Our planet has huge bulges in it, and it wobbles. It's not a perfect geosynchronous orbit. It fluctuates wildly, actually. So they've seen the cycle begin after that, and it is 12,000 years, and they've just sort of dealt with it as it is. It has always been my question to them, why are we still in this solar system? You know, and basically the way the universe works is we choose to be where we are. There was a lot to learn from being here under these circumstances. And so we're here. ETs are part of that process, and they're eons and eons and eons old. And so they're our progenitors, they're our parents, and they guide us, watch over us, and allow our autonomy at evolution. And that's why we are in the state that we're in.
So the supernova that you were talking about, could we assume that happened in the time of Mars, when Mars was destroyed?
Yeah, it was a micronova, and our sun does micronova from time to time. All suns have cycles of micronova as well as supernova in their evolution as a star. And so Earth is, you know, in the process of going through an actual micronova event. It's coming. I can give you an event that just happened that was invisible skies to Earth. Everybody saw it. You just weren't aware of the truth of it. And that was in 2019, Betelgeuse, the star Betelgeuse micronova. They saw the star go dark and then blow out all the outside of that star, and then they saw it clear. That was a very telling event for the scientists here, the astrophysicists, because they actually got to see in real time an actual micronova event on a star. It was the last gambit for them when they realized that our star was getting ready to do the same thing.
Okay. Well, you've answered so much that was on my mind. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It's a lot to take in. I understand that.
Come on, guys. I'm sure you have a million questions. I don't want to be the only one asking questions here, but if you want me to, I will.
This is Angela. I do have my hand up, so I'll go ahead. Everything you guys have just been talking about, I can absolutely align with the experiences I've been having for the last 2 years. The whole reset story coming through in light symbols 2 years ago. And when I tried to bring it out then, nobody was ready. And there were certain words I was given. And if I used those words, everybody rolled their eyes and went on to the next thing. And now it's common and everyone's talking about it, but it's amazing. Everything you just said is absolutely definitely information I've received, and then follow up with details of how that could occur. And it's absolutely in line. But I had made a comment in the section when you first started talking about the planet that you saw with the giant trees. And you're the first person that I've seen that has described something that I definitely experienced. And I thought that was fascinating, because I was told it was probably inner Earth or something like that, but nobody really knew. But there were these mammoth trees, and the buildings were all up in the crotches of the trees, and the branches were growing around these buildings. And the trees themselves were not cut into. There were towers, and you'd have to go up these towers and then across bridges to get from tree to tree once you were up off the ground. But everything was very much off the ground. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
So.
This is a planet that's in the Orion cluster. It is one of the Gray's homeworlds, and it is a learning planet. That's where they teach their young. And
that's incredible, because I have
yeah.
been to Orion. I have an amazing experience where I was shown a set of stars, and I actually found them, and it was Alnilam, the center belt star, and the surrounding stars of that star. So it took me a while, but I did locate what I was shown to show that, you know, that's the location I was in. And I've definitely had the plant lab experiences and things like that. So that's amazing.
That's totally awesome. I'm happy for you. I really am. Yeah. It's a wonderful life to live, to grow up and be taught by them this way. So this planet used to have huge trees like that back in the time before the big explosion. There's remnants of a couple of them. The Devil's Tower in Wyoming was a tree. It was a giant tree, and it's fossilized, sitting there. And there are the trees out in Mexico, huge, huge examples of how big those trees actually were before the cataclysm occurred. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's some good science too that our gravity was much less on Earth in the far distant past, which would
Right.
definitely tie in with the huge plants that we had fossils of, and for that matter, giants on Earth, and dinosaurs and so forth. So yeah, there's a lot of people who have talked about Devil's Tower being a tree. And I looked it up, and it's not the only one. There's 20, 30 examples of this across our planet.
I could ask a question. I was really fascinated by the idea of going back in time to Sweden in 1910. Like, wow! And in ufology study this as like the idea of time travel. But do you associate this in your mind with the Nordic aliens or the Pleiadians, whatever? They seem to relate to Northern Europe. Do you make a connection there, like Preston or Dolly? Do you have a comment on that?
I am some Swedish, native Swede. My family were Laplanders, reindeer herders, and I've been explained to me. We did my genetics, and we found out that I am heavily Nordic. ET has explained to me that I am part tall white, as well as I have tall gray in me in my genetics. And yeah, the tall whites that you would think of, they really don't think of themselves that way, but we do. And they prefer to be in that part of the world. They're more comfortable there. They live in other places. They're very obscure, standoffish, a race of ET, and they're very scientific, and they're responsible for monitoring what goes on this planet geophysically, and the stars. They're astronomers as well. So yes, and they're very protective of themselves and their children. So.
Yeah, genetics is a big part of this. This is why we see generational contactees. And I think that is one of their missions, is in a word, uplifting or upgrading or preserving genetic lines and trying to improve us in our abilities of longevity, which is increasing over the past few hundred years. It's practically doubled, and helping to raise our psychic awareness and our abilities, because we all used to be telepathic. And I think that's what we need to move back to overcome the corruption and greed and divisiveness that is choking our planet.
Yes. No, we have another member, Mitzi Bolivu, with the Winnipeg UFO. She's also of Lapland descent and a similar alien connection. I don't know if you know Mitzi, but she told us a similar story.
Talar said hi så länge. And yes, she would know. Most of us who are raised Laplanders are raised with the knowledge of all of this. And we've had genetic stories our whole life about it.
Yeah, she's like a clan member. She represents her clan. She gave a talk once on it.
Right.
Wow. Yeah, you're such a rich resource of information. This is amazing. It's just so good to meet you,
Thank you very much.
Also, I can mention, you were mentioning Jimi Hendrix. I know other musicians seem to have an ET contact, like John Lennon saw UFOs with May Pang, and you wonder if these people have been on craft, and is it maybe to change our society with music? Is it they're trying to, like Jeff says, they're trying to sort of shake or break our mind, they're trying to change our society, maybe music is part of it.
Yes, absolutely. ET language is often music based. They use tonal notation and to speak as well, and they communicate that way a lot. And people who are musical generally are very, very psychic, and it's a thing that kind of goes hand in hand with one another. And anybody who has had contact with them generally come away with heightened abilities, and musicians are generally, in my understanding, extremely heightened in their abilities, and they teach the basic three things that ET wants us all to learn, and that is to love one another, to remember that we're all in this together and that we should help one another. Do not exclude another being from your presence for any reason whatsoever, and no hate and no judge. And so, yeah, and Lennon was definitely a contactee. He was on board more times than I know about. And so was Hendrix. Hendrix was a regular on board craft. And I was very devastated when I found out that he had passed, because he was incredibly rich in his understanding of love and the way we should all be going and to use our abilities. So,
Wow.
Yeah, I would underline that as well. Musicians are a big part of this. I know of many cases. I mean, Demi Lovato, Miley Cyrus, John Lennon, Jimi Hendrix. I mean, a lot of them. And Dolly did talk about, you know, how musical the ETs are. During her lessons, sometimes she'd just start singing in her head and they'd all join in. They do have instruments, you know, piano-like instruments, flutes, guitars, all kinds of stuff, very much like us. They're a very musical people. And I have heard this from other contactees. One lady just recently, she's in North Carolina, I think, talked about how when they would come, they would play music, which kept waking up her husband. And they're like, she kept telling me, you need to, you know, stop making so much noise. But music is a part of this, which I don't hear a whole lot about, but it does come up.
yeah.
I just wanted to say that I was at Woodstock, and at the end of Woodstock, when we were all driving out of the concert, my van that I was with stopped at the same gas station as Jimi Hendrix.
Oh,
And he really was a demigod. I felt when I met him that I was meeting a demigod. He wasn't like a human. He was more than human. He was definitely ascending. His aura was about this big.
yes.
And actually it had a real feel to it. You know, you wouldn't want to cross that aura. You know, you'd want to stay away and say hello 6 feet from him. But he really did emanate love, so much love, and he was, I think, really an ascended person.
Yes,
You know,
he was. Yes.
yeah. So I was happy to hear your story.
When I was little, I used to be on board a large craft from time to time, and he was there. And I used to go and run and go sit at his feet and listen to him play and sing.
Yeah.
And he would let me sing with him. I used to sing when I was younger. I've had thyroid cancer, so I don't sing anymore. It destroyed my vocal cords. He helped me learn to play the guitar. Actually, I can play the guitar because of him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So he's totally unbelievably cool. And you're right, his aura was this big.
Yeah,
It was amazing,
absolutely,
you know?
right? You
Yes.
could actually touch it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Hey, I have a question for Dolly. Did you ever participate in any meetings of intergalactic federations at all?
No, I don't want to disappoint anybody, but there is no such thing. ETs have no federation. That is a human word that has been taught you to believe, and it's not true. They have no quote unquote government. They are a collective of cooperative entities who understand what it means to be cooperative and helpful to one another at all times. They will meet with one another. They will decide things to do. They're extremely autonomous beings. In other words, every single entity has a right to their autonomy. and no one person governs or rules over another in their society at all whatsoever. So
So you're saying it's just a loose group of ETs, autonomous, who get together and decide individually and collectively
yes,
about intergalactic issues and also Earth issues.
they
Nothing
don't,
formal.
yeah, they don't even use the word intergalactic. That's not in their vocabulary whatsoever. The universe is the universe. It is a huge organism to them. They call it the all mind. It speaks to them. They can hear it talking. They can download from it. You should be able to also. So everything they do, they see the bigger picture, and things are decided amongst themselves as groups or individually. And nobody does anything really to harm anybody else. And they are good parents to us. They are our progenitors, and that's how they operate.
So you're talking about beings that are really highly evolved and
Extremely, yes,
from the higher dimensions where
yes,
there's unity consciousness and there's love and
Right.
compassion, and they all are of essentially one consciousness.
correct. You got it. Exactly. That's exactly it.
Yep. No money, which I love. It'd be great to live without money.
I could just sum it up one way. It's called high moral responsibility. The more intelligent you become, the more aware and wise you become, your moral responsibility is paramount. And that's how they operate.
Which makes total sense.
Absolutely.
A very technologically advanced civilization would have overcome the dangers of destroying themselves or others. They're not coming here for our resources or for slave labor or to hurt people. It just makes zero sense. So yeah, this is really the evidence of the alien threat narrative is just not there. The worst I see is the physical exam, which is scary for people. And I do understand some people do have trauma from this, but no evidence of sadistic
Right.
behavior or them trying to hurt us. It's just not there.
Right. Well, I can give you an understanding of why we are examined. Because our magnetosphere has been down for so long and we have such high incoming gamma radiation, the human genome is breaking down. And they're helping to bolster us all up and keep us from perishing from this kind of very bad radiation. And your exams on board craft are keeping an eye on you, your levels of radiation. They work on you. They do things to help your genome stay strong enough until they can make the rescue for humanity. Gamma radiation can mess with your brains, it can mess with your heart, it can mess with your DNA, everything. And that's exactly why humanity is being examined and watched over like they are, for that reason alone. They don't pretend to, what's the word I'm looking for? I've had people ask me, why don't they just save us now? You didn't come to this planet to do things the easy way. You came here for a reason. You came here to learn and live a life, and you have a path, and your karma must be met out as you were decided to come here. And they cannot interfere with that at all. That is a huge issue. And they are literally waiting out, watching the evolution of this situation. And when they do make the rescue, it is going to be literally at the last minute for humanity. And my advice to everybody is figure it out. If you want to be rescued, be here, be available for it. Otherwise, whatever happens, happens. Whatever your karma is, that's what's going to happen.
I would just underline the fact that there is no such thing as death.
This is true.
Dying is not a horrible experience at all. There is
Right.
the other side. We can always come back into a physical body if we want. So there's no need to fear,
Right.
losing,
Yeah.
shedding your body. It's just a vehicle.
Right.
So people talk about death with such fear when it's not warranted. And you can learn this very easily by just your first out-of-body experience. So yeah, that's one thing that we really need to move away from in our society. And I think something that the ETs don't even fully understand is how enveloped we are in fear. I remember Whitley Strieber wrote about that. The ETs talked to him and said, "Why are you screaming? What is wrong with you?" They don't understand how fear has completely paralyzed our behavior. I think they're waking up to it now, but yeah, that's what we really need to move away from is, recognize that the universe is safe. We're going to be fine. Move away from fear. Don't believe the lies and have fun. Live life.
Yes, right. Enjoy. That's right.
Is it okay if I ask another question?
Sure.
Does anyone mind? Okay, the beings that I saw, Dolly, are tall beings with so much light that I couldn't see their faces, and long, long white hair. They were very thin and they were very tall. So I don't know what race they are, but sometimes I think that they were the tall whites. And what they said is that, well, they used to be on Mars, but now they travel on a ship and they're no longer on Mars. So they're basically travelers now. And I just wondered if it's possible that they were a kind of tall white on Mars. If you've ever heard that story about that.
Yes, there are many different ethnicities on Mars at one time, and you're describing a light being.
Yes, a light being.
Yes, and yeah, they've not chosen to be any one place. They just travel the universe now. They're extremely highly evolved beings, and they are light beings. They don't have a real corporeal body that you can touch. It's light, and they can manifest any way they please, actually. And so there are tall whites who are corporeal beings, and they're Nordic looking. They're old and they get very, very tall. The older they get, the taller they get, as a matter of fact. And then there are tall grays who can reach 7-8 feet tall, and they're very slender. Mama is a tall gray. They're an ethnicity of grays who are like medium sized. They're about 5 feet tall, between 5 and 6 feet. And then there are shorter grays. Some of them have a blue cast to their skin. They kind of look like trolls, and they're very, very sweet. And I think they developed the AI grays that do a lot of the work in space. It's because gamma radiation is such a serious issue for all beings. They built this genetic AI to do all the heavy work in space to avoid being hurt by gamma radiation. So
Thank you.
Thanks. Hi there. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Yeah, I just wanted to thank you so much for that presentation. I just had a quick question. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around kind of this rescue event that is scheduled to take place after, this cataclysm on Earth. And I'm just wondering, like, is the event going to take place before, during, or after the big event? Like, I'm just wondering if the rescue is gonna come after the event, how many people kind of will be left on Earth to rescue at that point? So I'm just trying to get a better sense of the timeline for that.
this event is probably going to happen within the next 2 to 3 years. ETs have largely bugged out right now. They do not surround our planet at all right now, physically. The magnetosphere is so far down that it is so dangerous to fly here that they are not here. They monitor us from remote locations. They have drones watching us. They can OBEU and remote view you. They are mentally in contact with humanity, but they're not physically here now. And they cannot be until after this event occurs. Once it does occur and the magnetosphere starts to settle back down somewhat, then they will show back up to make the rescue then. They're looking at the micronova is probably about 8 years away from here, 8 to 10 years on the outside. And so there's going to be a space. So 2 to 3 years for the CME to hit. And then you're looking at another year after that. And I am hoping that most of humanity has figured it out. You're not going to have any electricity, or survival is going to be hard. So it's going to be difficult. Can you hear the lightning in the background?
No,
Ooh, yeah, we had a bad storm hitting.
Thor's
Yeah.
come to visit you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, thanks for that response. And a quick follow-up question. During that rescue event, or when they make full contact at that point, will they also be looking at rescuing any wildlife that may have survived, or are they kind of knowing that there's a very low chance of survival for wildlife?
They are already rescuing as much wildlife that you can't even imagine how much they've already taken off the planet. Species seem like they're disappearing. They're not. They're taking them off. When that CME hits, it's going to get interesting. There's going to be all kinds of things happening around us. For the most part, they've already rescued the entire genome of this planet, all the animals, all the flora, fauna that they can get off now. If there's anything left afterwards, yes, they will take off as many as they can. I am trained in my ability to fly to rescue humans as well as animals, and probably be doing a lot of both. So yeah.
That's great. Thanks so much. And
You're welcome.
you know, I'm in my late 40s, and I did recently have contact, and it was conscious, like through my conscious and subconscious. It wasn't physical contact to my knowledge. And I do recall being up in their ship and being shown different things. And one of the options was like, do you fly or become a pilot? And I don't know, I just vaguely recall kind of saying no. Like I don't know if it was partly fear, or if I don't know what it was, but I just recall just saying, oh, I don't want to do this. And you know, over the course of a few months, I still had contact. I had screen memories, but everything kind of backed off. And I'm just wondering if, because of that, if down the road, if I become more comfortable with everything, if they would, you know, come back and connect with me consciously. We see them out in the yard, in like UFOs going by. We've got footage, but I'm just curious if, you know, they came for their visit and you kind of, I don't know, you weren't kind of up for the challenge at that point. Would they return at a later date?
Yes, if you want to change your mind, go for it. They will accommodate you. They will teach you.
Awesome.
We had a guest here that was telling her story. The UFO came really, really close to her, and she got really, really scared, and she ran the other way. And when she ran, they ran off. And at that moment, she had a moment of contrition, and she was like, take me with you. And she started running after them, but they were gone. But she's had a lot of contact after that. So if you want it, they will come.
Yes, absolutely.
But she chased them down the lake.
I have a memory of when I was about 10, and I was out in the field, and I was messing around with the horses, and I started to see a craft coming down, and my jaw hit the ground. You know, I was like, oh, and it landed, I don't know, probably 1,000 feet from where I was standing. and I saw the door open and I saw beings standing there. And for some stupid reason, I ran like crazy the other way. And that craft jumped up in the air, took off and came after me. And that's, my memory ends right there. And I know they got me. And I was like, I learned not to do that anymore. After that, it's like, okay, if you're gonna get me, fine, I'll just stand here and wait for it. And
Yeah.
I have in and out memories of that happening over and over and over in my life. It's like, oh well, shoot, you know.
Yeah,
They're
well,
cool.
when I saw mine, I was on a military base as well with my friend, the daughter of a, I guess, general or something, and we saw the UFO and we ran away. And then 3.5 hours lapsed when we kind of
Yeah.
came back as we were running. But in the meantime, we had
Wow.
been on the ship, we'd been taken, you know, we'd seen everything, and
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
but
Cool.
we ran away too. So I think it's perfectly okay to be scared the first time, you know. They still get you though.
Yes, they do. What base?
Down in Quito, Ecuador,
Oh,
it was
okay.
called El Batan.
Oh, I know what that base is. Okay. Right.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's where it
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the first
Wow.
person that has ever known where that is.
I'm a military brat. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was with a
Yeah.
military brat. They'd been in India,
Yeah.
Hawaii, so many places. And her
Yeah.
dad understood that we'd had this experience. And they transferred him. 3 weeks later, they were out of there.
Wow.
Hmm.
That's amazing. That's
They
amazing.
were out of there. And that's always
Yeah.
been a big mystery to me.
Yeah.
You know? So military men know that this is going on then, or knew
Yes.
in the 60s and 70s.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I was in the Army DoD as well, and I have a lot of experience with knowledge. And I can't talk about it because I'm under NDAs, but yeah,
Right.
a lot goes on. Yes.
Well, you know, I've been looking for my friend for 50 years. They broke us up, and then I've had a lot of my lab experiences where they erased my memory, and I can't remember her last name, so I can't find her.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I really would love corroboration and help with our story, because it happened to both of us, right? But her dad told us never to tell, so maybe she will never tell.
I understand. I have to.
Yeah. But your dad was cool.
Yes, he was. I
He
had a
didn't tell
totally
you
cool
not to
dad.
tell.
Yeah. I kind of hero worshiped him, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was totally awesome. So